Recently, we did an exclusive workshop with some of our channel members and people inside of our private app. And we got a lot of feedback from people in terms of aha moments they experienced when they got to dream a little. But not only that, we helped teach them a strategy to actually hit their business goals on autopilot. And now that I kind of think about it, in February 2023, I was still working as a full-time police officer. And the strategies you're going to hear today helped me to not only leave my job early, but being able to spend more time with my family and this incredible woman right here and actually get paid to do so. So if you're someone who, in the process of setting goals, can sometimes get frustrated because it seems like year after year after year, you're actually producing the same thing, this is the workshop for you. This is what changed the game for us. And we wanted to make sure you saw it, so we brought it here to YouTube. If you're ready to dive in with us, let's go. It's time to redefine leadership. Welcome to Modern Leadership, where we see things differently. Our channel is all about empowering entrepreneurs like you to achieve the next level of success in business and life. We believe that you can create a massive impact in the world without compromising your personal life or family time to do so.
We're committed to providing you with actionable tips and strategies weekly to make that possible. So if you're ready to become a modern leader and make a lasting difference in the world, consider subscribing. Turn on notifications and dive into our community. We want to thank you for being here because the world needs your leadership now more than ever. Let's go.
Hey guys, what is going on, my people? Good morning, modern leaders. What is up, everybody? Greg is here, Betsy is here, Gadine is here. Look at everybody here. I love seeing your smiling faces. Iwana, Tina, Tiffany, Mike, Damika, Elena's here, Amanda's here. Oh man, I should go through every single person's name. We are super pumped to be here with you guys here today on December 30th. Apparently, my days are a little bit off. I don't know, last time when it was Thanksgiving, I talked about Easter. Anyway, we are going to set you up today to have some massive success, not only when it comes to your business, but also when it comes to your personal life, when it comes to your health, when it comes to all those things that really are deeply meaningful and important to you. So just to give you an idea, we are going to have a workshop today. So that means if you have some pen, paper, digital form, it doesn't matter. We want you to really take some really key nuggets from today's training, not only because we want to help you personalize this for you, but because we know a lot of you guys are out there wanting to make an impact in the world. And literally by listening to the advice that you're getting from us, seeing how it applies to you, also you can see how it applies to the people that you lead. Literally 5 minutes before this, my kids decided they were going to wake up and they wanted to come downstairs and they wanted to get some cereal at the last second when we're like, guys, we're like all set up here, right? And then my son's like, what is this about? And I gave him a little bit of an idea and he's like, I need all of that. And I was like, you know what? We really wish what we teach are going to be talking about and teaching today was taught in schools. What would it look like if this stuff was taught in school? What do you think?
That would be crazy.
It would be totally crazy. It would be totally crazy. So we are going to dive right in. We do want to hear some feedback as we go. By the way, can you guys hear us? Can you hear us well? All right. So we have a little bit different of a setup.
We got to make sure that everything is working properly because this is a new thing for us.
Yes. And our puppy decided that he wants to make some noise right now too, but it's all good. But this is it's going to be a powerful workshop for you guys. And one of the things that I really want to make sure that we realize before we get started is how proud I am for you showing up for this, for you dedicating your life towards your goals, not just your business, but also your personal goals, because most people don't do that. They aren't willing to set goals at this time of the year, or they just set a resolution and they have no idea how they're going to do what we're going to talk about today. And that is like actually create like your goals, but also set your brain on autopilot, meaning it will happen naturally. I mean, have you ever experienced this where maybe when you first start something, it takes a little bit of time to think about it consciously. You have to remind yourself, but then after some time, before you know it, you start performing the actions of that type of person. I even think about like driving your car or brushing your teeth. Like a lot of times we don't have to think about that. I mean, sometimes to a fault where you just, you get into your car, you have no idea how you ended up at, for Teresa, it's Ulta. For me, it's like, I don't know what, like really? Maybe Best Buy, We have no idea how we got there, right? But it's because our brain has been pre-programmed to go out there and to do those things on autopilot. We're going to teach you what we learned to make that also related to your personal and your professional goal. Now, here's the thing. If you've set goals before, if you've tried this before and you're like, I'm in the same spot every single year, this webinar and this training and this workshop is literally made for you. If you're somebody I've never really set a goal, I've heard about them, I've thought about them, but I haven't done it because I'm a little nervous about not actually hitting my goals, this workshop is for you. If you actually set a goal and you hit a goal, I'm going to tell you set the wrong goal and you're going to be right here at the right workshop because I'm going to make you push a little bit because we want to set goals that are called push goals. I like to call them legacy goals, where you're literally, as a result of you hitting that goal, you make a huge impact in the world and you make a huge impact in your personal life. And that's what we're going to be doing here today. Sound good?
Yeah.
You ready to go with me?
Sounds exciting.
All right, cool. Now we're going to start off with 3 very powerful things that I really want to break down before we get into the actual part of the workshop. Because if you don't take these 3 things and inject them into the rest of the workshop today and the rest of your life, you're going to feel very stuck. You're going to feel like you're going uphill. You're going to feel like you're starting over again. You're going to feel like, man, everything that I try, it's just not working. I'm confused what to do next. And if you don't take these 3 things seriously, they're going to really hold you back.
But before we get to that, let's do a little bit of an introduction, because I know that there's some people here that don't even know who we are.
100%. And I think like that's also why I wanted to talk about those 3 things, because I want to share a little bit of our story in terms of like how we got up against kind of like a rock in a hard place, like they say. And we didn't realize that these 3 things were what we really needed to lean into. But do you want to do a quick introduction for you?
Yeah, sure.
Go for it.
So my name is Teresa Hildebrand, and I am a life and performance coach for mom entrepreneurs. So really what I help women do is reject the notion that they have to do it all and then find out what's most important and do that efficiently. So because I went through that, I went through working full time and then leaving my job and being a full-time mom. And it was something really overwhelming. And also I do this business with my husband. And it was just something that I failed through over and over and over again. And now we kind of have the behind the scenes look at this that I can share with other people.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And it is pretty cool when you get to wake up and be married to your business partner, but there is some negatives to it, right? When Mr. Mark decides he wants to talk about business all day, all time of the day. But that was a really, really great introduction. Thank you for that. In terms of me, is I always consider myself a lifelong police officer. I did everything in my life to work up to that career, become a police officer. I worked for LAPD, did it for 20 years, rose up through the ranks, got to the rank of sergeant. And about at the halfway point, I realized that I wasn't living up to my potential. I realized that I was putting my family on the back burner. I was putting my health on the back burner. At one point, I was 100 pounds overweight, difference between where I am now. And I was doing whatever so quote unquote successful professional person was doing. I was climbing up the ranks. I was working all the overtime. I was spending a lot of time there. I was being the most dependable person that I could be there. And what I realized is I put those other areas, which are painful to me to think about, on the back burner because it was just a season. I only have to wait until I get this goal. And once I get this goal, everything's going to happen and it's going to be beautiful. Only that's never the case. That season turns into years, turns into decades. And then before you know it, you're like, this is now just my normal routine. And my normal routine is putting those other areas of my life on the back burner. Now, what you'll hear through today, and I'm going to share a few different stories about some of these game-changing moments in my life, is that I was literally repeating what my parents did. So my parents, when I was young, they got divorced. Somehow my dad won custody of us, which was unheard of back in the day. But once my dad and my mom separated, I went to go live with my dad along with my brother. There was some turmoil that actually caused him to get divorced again, because at that time he had remarried. And because of that, he had to spend so much time and energy away from us working. You know, that's something that I've definitely gotten from him, is like, he's the hardest worker on the planet, but we never saw him. And I kind of had to raise myself and my brother the whole entire time. And all we had was beer and mustard in the refrigerator. And I don't know why it was just beer and mustard, but that was the only 2 things. I mean, maybe it goes well together with hot dogs. I don't know. But it was like this struggle of now becoming, at like 13, 14 years old, the person who has to make money to be able to, for us to eat food. I remember we used to just have like French fries that we put the oil on the stovetop, and just like that would be like our dinners for like multiple days. Or Hot Pockets was like a big deal. That was a big deal for us. Or Hamburger Helper. And all of these things like really build me up of like, I've got to work hard for my worth. I've got to work hard to prove that I can do this for my brother and for the rest of the world. And that was something that I hadn't really thought of, but I was like, I don't want this to happen when I get older. I remember hearing this quote of like, if you don't tackle the demons that you currently have, you'll most likely pass them off to your kids. And that is one thing that really pisses me off, is like I refuse to pass any of those demons off, yet I was going down that same exact path. So when you hear that, I really want you to connect with not just our stories, that our stories have to be the same, but literally through the transformations that we're going to talk about here today, and through getting finally certified as a life coach and understanding the philosophies that we're going to talk about here today, I was not only able to like transform my mindset, but as a result, we created a business, a multiple six-figure business that allowed both of us to retire so we can be here on a beautiful Saturday morning. We be here when our kids are, going off to school and coming home, and we don't have to worry about rush hour traffic or being deployed in Los Angeles during a riot. Like none of those things, which were taking me away, have that toll or have that pull on me anymore. And it's because of my ability of setting goals, understanding how to reverse engineer it, talk about all the things that could be holding us back today, and really programming it on autopilot so it would happen without me thinking. Is that a good intro?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're going to dive in to the first three things that I heard that transformed not only my life, but got me to see where the true change needed to happen. So we didn't talk about this much, but when I first started my business, I started out in a multi-level marketing company. And it was one of the greatest stepping stones that I think I could have ever had. Because when you're a part of multi-level marketing, a lot of the things they push is personal development and personal growth. Like you've got to become better, right? And I remember the first person that I listened to, and it was on a CD. I used to have it. I used to play it inside of my truck as I was going back and forth from places. And it was from this guy named Jim Rohn. Does anybody know who Jim Rohn is? Okay. Jim Rohn had this beautiful knack of like keeping it super simple and it feeling like a punch in the gut, but him being nice about it so that it felt kind of cool when he told you this. And he told me three things when I was listening to the CD. And I want to share them with you here today because this is what opened the door to all the other things besides this, okay? Because if you don't get these three pieces, the rest of this workshop, you should just turn off because it's going to be useless. Number one is he said, for things to get better, you have to get better. For things to change, you have to change. And if you want something different, then you have to do something different. Let's go over this real quick. I want you to say it one more time. For things to get better, you have to get better. They don't get better by default. They don't get better repeating the same things that you've ever done. For things to get better, you as a person, you have to develop yourself into the type of person who is going to have these goals that we talk about. If you are trying to lose 100 pounds, you need to become the type of person who can already have those 100 pounds off, meaning the habits that you're having, the mindset of the person who's 100 pounds lighter than you are. And when you do that, then you get to actually have that 100-pound weight loss. See, when I was trying to lose weight, I was backwards. I was like, well, when I have the time, when I have the energy, when I have the money, then I'm going to be able to do these activities. Then I'll be able to exercise. Then I'll be able to do. And then once I do that, then I'll become something different, right? But that is, like they say, bass-ackwards. It's completely the opposite of how it really works in real life. You must first become something in the process. When you become that person, you now will do the activities that that person does automatically. This is why we're talking about it happens on autopilot, because you're just the type of person, right? And then when you do those things, you get to have that end result. I like to ask this a lot, and that is like, if we were to hand you $1 million coaching business, how long would you have and be able to sustain $1 million coaching business? Probably not long, because you haven't become the type of person that runs $1 million business. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to think. And this is not something that to degrade you. This is something that is the greatest opportunity, is when you see that for things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, you have to get better. And this is what Jim Rohn was telling me. And I'm like, I just want to lose some weight. And I pushed back against it for a little while until I realized that it was so true. I didn't have to wait for the outside to change. I needed to start working on that internal transformation. And that's not something that happens as quickly as a microwave, as quickly as like clicking the easy button and flipping over to it. It takes time, it takes energy. But the beautiful thing is, once you've been able to achieve this goal, you'll just have it naturally and you'll never lose it ever again, because you're just that type of person.
Yeah, and it can be both really scary, but super empowering at the same time, right? Because now it's like you're in the driver's seat, and that takes a mindset shift, right? Takes a mindset shift to say, okay, I have the control. Like I have to become the person that does X, Y, and Z, right? And yeah, it can be a little scary, but also like you're in control now, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're in the driver's seat. So,
and I also want to point out that you're not alone.
mm-hmm.
You're literally here on this webinar, and we're going to pour into you for the next hour and a half to 2 hours, as much as it takes for us to give you the strategies and the suggestions and the mindset and the way to reverse engineer all of this kind of stuff, because you're not alone. Like one of the things that I'm going to call out in advance is like when you get done here, if you move forward on your own and you don't find an outside resource, whether it's us or someone else, and we'll talk to you about how you could work closer with us if you really do enjoy our energy and our values. But we just want you to find someone, find a team, find a mentor, find somebody who understands the philosophies we talked about, because it's very easy by you surrounding yourself, the environment that you're in, to either pull you this direction or this direction. And you're going to get back into your normal life, and people are going to think normal again. And they're going to think for things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, my boss has to get better. If I want something different, I just got to pray on it and just sit there and it will be given to me. And I got to tell you, like, there's a lot of people who think that way. And that's how most of the world thinks. And they're still waiting. And they're still waiting for people to change and waiting for things in outside circumstances, waiting for luck and waiting for all this stuff, when it has to come from your actions, and it has to come from you taking that internal like look at yourself and saying, okay, for things to get better, it's time for me to get better. Because the beautiful thing is, guys, is I want you to hit every single goal that you come up with today. But the truth is, if you become better in the process, that is what the true goal is. The true goal is the person that you become, the person that leads your family, the person that you role model for other people. That is, in my opinion, the true goal, which is what I believe legacy truly is you modeling the behavior so that they don't necessarily remember your name forever, but they remember the principles you taught them forever. And that's what we're after. At least that's what I'm after, is to make a huge impact with that. And if you're ready to do that, you guys ready to do that? Then we're going to go. All right. So let's go. Now, here's the thing. I want to talk about three different breakdowns that we're going to do for you guys here today. And each one of these is equally important, but they kind of build off of the other three. Now, what most people do is they set goals, they sit down, and they think about, and they dream about what they want, or they think about what other people have. They're like, man, I really would want a nice car like that, or I really want this, or I'd really want a job like that, or a business like this. And they get kind of like convoluted in some of the things that they want. And when we think about these, I want you to think about all three of these as like steps from one to the next, all right? You need the one before this, before you graduate and you move on to the second one. Now, we take our one-on-one clients through this a lot more extensively than we're going to be talking about here today. It's actually over multiple calls. So we can't put all of this stuff into this one workshop, but we can help you get you started, okay? Now, the first piece of this is we're going to talk about what's called core values, okay? Core values. Now, we didn't talk much about this, but I want you to like really think about it like this. I don't want to complicate people. I know we have a lot of life coaches here. I know we have a lot of other business owners here from multiple different places, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but I want you to think about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, okay? I'm going to keep this super simple. The conscious mind is what you're currently thinking right now. It's on like the outside. It's 3% of your thoughts, believe it or not. It's like on the outside. Like, what am I seeing? What am I doing? What am I smelling? What am I tasting? What am I feeling? These are like, this is your conscious mind. You're conscious of this beautiful woman sitting right next to me. Well, I'm conscious of it, right? It's kind of making me a little sweaty, actually. But I'm conscious of like things that are kind of like happening. I'm like, oh, what do I want to eat for lunch today? Like, I'm consciously thinking of that. But what happens is most of our life is run on our subconscious mind. It's the pre-programming that happens in our brain that says, when I wake up, I walk over and I get my water. When I get my water, then I go to the bathroom. When I go to the bathroom, I brush my teeth. And when I brush my teeth, I walk downstairs. And when I walk downstairs, I grab this. You don't think about it, but most of your day is on autopilot. Most of the things that are happening subconsciously. You don't even realize they're happening, but they're running the show. So one of our jobs here today is we want to make this unconscious stuff that maybe you're doing or thinking about, we want to bring it to your conscious. Because when you bring it to your consciousness, then you have the ability of changing it. But if deep down inside you don't believe you're good enough, if deep down inside you don't believe you could lose that weight, if deep down inside you don't believe you can, have that goal or whatever that is, we need to bring that to the conscious mind because we need to like uproot it. We need to not just pretend like everything's positive. We need to see it, bring it up and go, okay, now we can attack it. I like to say this to my clients is this, you don't know what you're fighting against. How are you going to fight against it? And the truth is you can't because you push it down. You pretend like it doesn't exist. You don't talk about it. You don't have a coach who understands how to work through that with you. And so this is what's really running the show. It's our past programming. It's maybe things that our parents have said. Maybe it's things that we learned in school. Maybe it's things that some of the kids said. Whatever that is, it's kind of like trapped in here and now it's running on the subconscious mind. Now, when I talk about core values, for example, core values is something that is core to you. And nobody can tell you what your core values are, only you can. Core values are something that happens on the inside and then you bring it to the outside. Meaning, you don't go on the outside to find your core values, you go onto the inside to find your core values. Your core values are kind of like your North Star. They point you in the direction of, this makes me feel like I'm living on purpose. Some people say it's purpose, potential, passion, all that stuff. I like to think of them as core values. It's the near and dear values that matter the most to me. Now, the reason why this is so important is because most people don't take the time to identify their core values. They just jump to the setting goals. And they're like, I just want to set goals. Now, if you're a client of mine, I'm going to be listening for the values based off of your goals and making sure that you are staying true to your values. One of the things your subconscious will literally throw in a monkey wrench to is if you believe that you have to sacrifice your family in order to see success in your business, you will not work your business as hard as it needs to be worked and go through all of the pain and struggle of it because it's going to sacrifice your family. And subconsciously, before you even know about it, you're sabotaging it. You're thinking about ways that you can get out of it. You're thinking about, I don't think this is going to work for me. And if you can get to the root of it and find out why that's the case, this case, identifying what is near and dear to you, what your values are, then you literally have like the roadmap for you to be able to travel to get there, right? Now you're going to hear one thing when Teresa jumps on about like setting your goals for the new year. And one of the things we talk about is setting both a personal and professional goal. And the reason why is because you have to be in alignment with your core values. Your core values are, like I said, your compass. They help you determine if you get to the end of the day, did you feel like you were productive or did you feel like you were just busy? And the beautiful thing, and can be a difficult thing, is the tug between core values. Some people are like, but I love to make an impact in my business. I just want to work my business, but then it pulls me away from my family. But I just want to be able to spend time, really high quality time with my family, but it's pulling me away from my business. And there's going to be this flow between them, but understanding that they're both your values, now you can have a filter. And the filter is like, this action that I'm going to take, is it in alignment with my value of my business, making my impact? Is it in the value of me prioritizing my health? And is it in the value of my family? Because if it's in the value of all those, let's do it. But if it's not, then it's a hell no. Sorry, like that might crush my business. But if I'm away from my family for 6 months, that's definitely going to crush my family, and I'm not willing to do that. And so having this filter of core values also shows you where you can spend time, where you should spend your energy, and gets you to like know when you feel off, why you feel off, so that you can jump in and you can correct it. All right. Now, I kind of told you a little bit of the story related to my dad as I was growing up, right? Hardest worker ever, right? What I didn't realize is that when I started to grow my business and when I started to, even in my career, wanted to rank up through the LAPD, I was ignoring some of my most important core values. Now, if you're to talk to me now, my core values are health, their family, their impact, and its integrity. So those are our 4 things. These are also in our business, Modern Leadership. These are the 4 things we think about every time we go to put together a video. It's these 4 things of our core values. It's health, it's family, it's impact, and it's integrity. And what I was doing is I was making an impact at LAPD. I was not focusing on my health, and I was not focusing on my family, and I most definitely was focusing on integrity. That's literally what I did as a police officer. So having 2 out of the 4 core values would sometimes make me feel good when I'm at work, when people are like, oh, Mark, you're doing so much hard work. But what it did is it prevented me from taking back this part of my life where it was my health and my family that I really wanted to to prioritize, right? I remember hearing this quote from Aaron Walker. He says, don't come home with a pocket full of money to a home full of strangers. Like, here's the thing, like when you're juggling the balls of life, like the family ball is glass. Some of the other ones are kind of like rubber and they can bounce back. Your family cannot bounce back. So to me, I'm like, this is my priority and it has to be something that I flow everything to. So when I was like even joining like business mastermind groups and programs and stuff like that, I came to find out that like if that person wasn't family centered, if that person wasn't somebody who wanted to focus on their health as well, I'm like, I love you, but this is not for me because it's not in alignment with what I want to be. The hustle culture, I'm absolutely against it. When people say you have to hustle your face off, I'm like, yeah, I tried that and it didn't work. It's when I stopped hustling that I made 10 times as much money, which is crazy to say that, but it is the truth because that energy of you trying to like be something to everyone is not sustainable. And when you can boil it down to your core values, that is truly when you know that you are on the right track and you're putting your time and energy where it's really best spent. Now, I kind of told you how important these core values are, but you have to find a way to really identify what your core values are. The way that we do it inside of our programs. We ask really powerful questions to help you be able to identify like what's near and dear to you and to your heart, right? And when you realize these are my core values, you now have to step into it and go, okay, this is the filter that I run everything through. If my family is important, if my impact is important, if my whatever those words are, they don't have to be the same words as me. I hope they're not the same words as me. I want you to tap into yours. It will help you feel and be able to make decisions and feel more like you're living on purpose and tap you into creating your goals. Now, before I pass it to Teresa, I want to point this out. If there's something that sometimes pulls you away from working your business, if there's something where like you just don't know what it is, but you feel like you're stuck, you feel like it feels inauthentic to do, you feel like when you do this thing, you feel like you're forcing it, I want you to realize that it could be that you're trying to go against your core values and your subconscious is not going to let you do that. It's going to refuse. It's going to say, nope, that's not going to happen. Your core value is this. This is what we really near and dear to us, make us feel powerful. And if you're going out of alignment from that, you're not going to be able to sustain it. But I also want to take this one step further. And that is like, if you're trying to force something, like let's say you're a coach and you're trying to get somebody to show up for something and it goes against their core values, you're going to have a very difficult time because you're going to be trying to force them through something that feels out of alignment from them and who they are and what's most important to them. So when you do have those moments, I want you to really take a step back and go, you know what? This is what happened when we were on this workshop. Mark was talking about core values. Maybe this person feels like it's out of alignment with their core values. And maybe if I just ask some questions, I can really find out. But also like, don't forget for you too. Like when you feel out of alignment, when you feel like it's just the same old rat race over and over and over again, really sit down, slow down, identify your core values, get a coach on your side, hopefully who can ask you some powerful questions to find it out so that you have and know where that true north is. Now, last piece, even though I already said that was the last piece, is some of you guys are like, okay, Mark, maybe I do know about core values, but like I'm struggling with like posting on social media. If you know your core values, you put them out to the world, you will attract people who have those same values. So if you're like family is super important and you start talking about family, everybody else who doesn't care about family is like, I'm out of here. And they stop following you, which is the greatest thing you could ever have. Because I don't know about you, I want a team of people who value the same things that I value, because I don't want to be going against the grain, right? I don't want to be around a whole bunch of people who are like, I just want to make a ton of money. I don't really care about my kids. Well, one of the things, like I was reading, any of you guys read the book from David Goggins? Like it's a really powerful book, but I refuse to be like, allow him to be my mentor because he ruined his family connection. And it's really not that much of a priority to him. So for me, I'm like, he's great at motivational speaking, but I'm also not going to be following his advice because of what he actually created in his life. I don't want to create that. Now, some people would push back against me and go, no, like he's the greatest person to learn from. I'm like, no, kind of like the greatest person to learn from is somebody who is able to have it all, who has been able to find ways to succeed, because those are the people that I know are like in alignment with my values. But when you know your values, it will give you unlimited content to talk about. Because if you're like, oh, on Monday, I can talk about health. On Tuesday, I can talk about family. On Thursday, I can talk about impact. On Friday, I can talk about something related to integrity. And you can talk about it in a way where people know, like, and trust you. That is more likely going to get people to go, I know what that person stands for and I'm willing to get behind them. Because if you're just you just agree with everybody, like, they don't know if they can trust you, right? And being able to build that trust by sharing your values, by implanting it even in all of your content. I mean, how much of you guys have already heard my values so far, just from being on this webinar? Some of you guys, is the first time you've ever heard us, right? You're like, oh, I know what his values are because I'm talking about them, right? And I'm not talking about them because you have to have them. I'm talking about them because when I put my stake in the ground, you either say, I like them or I don't like them. Either way is totally fine with me, but I want to make sure that you're doing that for your people too. All right. That was core values. Anything on that before you hit up the next one?
No.
Okay.
Let's move on, but not that that's not important. That is the most important thing that we talk about here, because really it's the foundation. It's the foundation of, what you're going to be doing. And like you said, you start to become the person who has what it is that you want, right? So now let's kind of think about what it is that you want. Begin with the end in mind, they say, right? Mm-hmm. Because you have to kind of picture that in order to start doing the things that you need to do in order to get there, right? So, and this is like something that obviously we talk about goals. You're like, well, what is it that you want? And you're probably tired of hearing that, right? Because how many times have you created goals that you haven't achieved? Over and over and over again. You find yourself December 30th. You're like, I'm in the same spot that I was last year, December 30th, 2022, right? So it kind of gets like, you get jaded because you're just like, well, I keep coming up with these goals and I just can't do it. And obviously now that you know about core values, that could be a switch in this whole thing. But also you have to realize what it is that you truly want. Like, not what, hey, everybody else is doing or everybody else is achieving. It's like, no, you have to really understand what it is that you truly want. Because what most people do is they look to the outside to figure out what they want. And as you can probably tell, that's not going to get you to where you want to go, because the things that you're doing are not in alignment with what you want, right? So it has to be something that you can consistently do, not that other people are telling you that you need to consistently do. It's you need to find out what it is that you want so that you can feel like, okay, I'm living in my core values and I'm moving towards those goals that I truly want, right?
Can I add something?
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question on that, because when it comes to like identifying what you want, like some people look to the outside and they're like, I want a business that does this and that, and you think about like all of the beautiful like rainbows and unicorns and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of times it's kind of like from a painful moment, right? When you're like, no, this is what I want. And a lot of times it's not tangible, right? It's not that tangible thing of like, I want to make $1 million in a business. And it's like, why do you want to make $1 million in the business? What? Like, are you like trying to solve? What problem are you trying to solve that you're going through or that you potentially see? So I kind of want to see if you can share, like kind of like, there was a bunch of stuff that happened, right? That gave us our why in terms of why we're doing this and what we truly want. But, the day that you were trying to get to the Mother's Day thing, I want you to see if you can share that real quick, because that helped us identify why we were doing this and what we really wanted. And it's not what people think of, like getting on stage and doing all that, have a podcast and a YouTube channel, because that would have not fulfilled us, right, at all. So can you share that a little bit?
Yeah, and I need to give a little bit of a background, because so he's talking about a Mother's Day event. So I was working full time outside the home. We both were, obviously. And I think the kids were about 2 and 3 at the time. Actually, at that moment, they were a little bit older, but they were still young. My daughter was in preschool, and she was talking about this thing that they were doing for Mother's Day. And I was so happy because it was actually happening in the evening. So it was happening after work. And I was like, finally, I can actually make an event, right? Because it's not like in the middle of the day when I couldn't take off work. So I was so excited, and I was driving to the event and there was traffic. I mean, we live in LA, so I was stuck in gridlock, right? And I thought, oh, I'm going to be late. And my daughter, Alyssa, was talking about this thing that they were going to do as something really, really special. She was super excited. It was a secret, so she couldn't really tell me the details. So my heart was just broken that day because I thought, okay, I finally got a chance to actually go to this event and be like a part of my kid's life in these moments that, something she was really excited about, and I missed it. And it was like one of those things that like it happened, it would happen over and over again. But this moment was like, I don't know, it felt like it hit me harder, I think. So I told Mark, I'm like, listen, like I was probably crying and stuff like, because even now when I talk about it, I almost want to cry. So I was telling him about it. And I think he kind of, he was just listening. And it wasn't that particular day, but it was later on, he approached me and he said, what if we actually worked hard so that you didn't actually even have to go to work? Because it was like this theme of, I keep missing this stuff with my kids. And at the time, like it seemed absolutely crazy because my plan before kids, our plan was like, we're just going to have these careers. And we had achieved that. Like we had awesome jobs and things changed when we had kids. And when he brought that up, I was like, are you crazy? Like, that's ridiculous. We have really great jobs, really like well-paying jobs. And we were able to afford a home and everything. And we could, do a lot of things, but not with our time. Like we had the money, but we didn't have the time. And we knew that we only had limited time with our kids and they were only going to be small for a short period of time. So he was like, what if we do this? What if we work hard? And I'm like, at first I wasn't getting it. I was like, I can't do that. But over time, like I started to think about it and I'm like, that would be awesome. And I think that's what I truly want. I think that's what I want for us. And then we started working on it. And I think about a year and a half later, I left my job. Now, other things happened after that were real struggle. Like I'm not saying that everything just was like amazing afterwards, but the point is that that event opened my eyes to the possibilities. It actually opened my eyes to this is a problem and there's a solution for it. And that's what I truly want. Why not go for it? Right.
Yeah. I love that. I actually still remember when she had that conversation with me because I took that personally because I didn't take that as like, oh, there's traffic in Los Angeles. I took it as I failed. Like I put all of my time and effort into doing this. And the one thing that I want to be able to control, which is time with our kids, it's my fault. And I will never allow this to happen again. There's a different feel when you find the real reason why you're willing to do something. If you want to make a ton of money, you want to make a ton of impact, you are looking to live in a great house and have a great car, that's good until it gets hard. But when you realize that you're in the middle of the hard right now and you're unwilling to make this thing happen again and again and again so that when your kids get older, all they remember is grandma and grandpa, like raising them and not you being able to raise them, a fire gets inside of you that will make you unstoppable. It doesn't matter if 3 people show up to your webinar. It doesn't matter if somebody says no to you. It doesn't matter if you're going to post up a reel. What are people going to think? I don't care because I refuse to allow. And I could picture it in my mind, Teresa walking in and my daughter being on the teacher's lap and being so excited to see her, but then also, Mom, you missed it. You missed what we've been working so hard for. And it's those moments that like literally can transform people's lives when they get that time back. And I feel like I had let her down. So when Teresa asks you this next question, I want you to dig deeper than just skin deep. I want you to dig deeper than, oh, my pants will fit if I reach this weight. Or, you know what, I'll be able to like retire like just from my job. Like just retiring from my job would not have been enough for me to go through the hard things we had to do, the skills we had to develop. We were talking about this yesterday. I think like I stopped counting after 43 different courses and trainings and masterminds and programs that I've been a part of because I was like, I'm just going to stop counting. I'm just going to keep doing them, right? It's not easy to go from that to that to that because you think one thing is going to fix you and you don't realize it's the entirety, right? Making $2,000 more per year is probably not going to get you to become something different. It's going to do more of what is currently working. But what if you took your goal from 40,000 to 300,000? Well, you'd have to have a different filter of some of the things that you're doing, because the person who makes $40,000 a year is at a different level of growth than the person who makes $300,000 a year. And so when you think about that and you're like, $300,000 is my goal, now your brain is pre-programmed to find all of the answers to that solution because it doesn't know where to find the answers right now. But if your brain had just incremental improvements, you'd have been trapped in here. It'd be like, nope, I know what to do. I just got to do a little bit more. I just got to push a little bit more. I got to sleep a little bit less. I got to do this a little bit more. And I got to do a little bit more workouts. And that's what happens is you prevent yourself from being open-minded to things that are outside of you, which is why they're called push goals, because goals were not meant to be reached. They were meant to stretch you. Meaning when you set a really big goal, it makes you become somebody else different in the process. And then you get to keep that goal once you get it because you just naturally perform at it, right? This is that piece where we're talking about on autopilot. It has to be that point where it's so big that you have to become something different in the process. You have to do something different than what you're currently doing. But now you don't need to have the answers right now. You just have to put yourself in an environment to find it. And it's beautiful because when you do, when you listen to a podcast, when you read a book, when you watch us on YouTube, when you do whatever that thing is, you're going to find the solutions that work for your solution, as opposed to, oh, I just got to work a little bit harder and stay more motivated this year. Like if that didn't work last year, it's not going to work this year. Remember, for things to change, we have to change. For things to get better, we have to get better. And this is how we do that. We give ourselves stretch goals and we're okay if we don't hit them because we know we're becoming somebody else entirely different in the process, right? So that is step number 2.
Yeah, and talk about the visualization piece.
Okay. Yes. So let's do this. This is the second part of it. Okay. This is something that I take a lot of my clients through, and it is really impactful. Actually, right before this, I was taking a walk in the rain. I'm doing 75 hard. Teresa's like, why are you going to walk in the rain? 75 hard says I got to work out. I got to do it at 5 a.m. and it's raining. But as I was going, I listened to YouTube videos and stuff like that. And I was listening to this neuroscientist. And I love when I talk to somebody who actually knows how to verbalize it in science of how our brain works. And she was talking about neuroplasticity. And that is how your brain is able to adapt and to change and to literally become an entirely different person. She said that there's studies that shows that it goes up to 70 years old, and some people can go beyond that, where they're literally reshaping their brain. And when they dive into this science, it's incredible at what it can do for them. Now, what was awesome is as I was listening to this, I was like, this is literally what we're teaching today on this call. It really fired me up. But she brought up one more thing that I want to take you through today, because I'm like, I do that too. I just didn't know if we were going to have enough time, and it looks like we're going to have enough time. And it's the process of visualization, okay? So I want to hear, before we go, I want to hear in the chat, what is your measurable goal, your personal and professional goal for next year? I'm going to give you a second to literally write it out in the comments, because this is an interactive thing where I want to see your goals. So if I could remove all the pain, all the struggle, all the sacrifice, all the difficult things it takes, what measurable goal would you want to achieve for your business, and what measurable goal would you want to achieve in your personal life? And I want to see it in the chat. For some of you guys, I love it, Amber. Amber says $100,000 in 1 year. I love it. How about a personal goal, Amber? What is a personal goal that you have that could be tied to making $100,000 in the year? So let me just give you an example. So some people, it's hard to quantify family connection, right? So it's very hard to go, well, I want to just be more connected to my family. I want to feel like we just are more in synergy, that we love each other more, that we have better experiences and things like that. But what you can do, you can't quantify that, but what you can do is you can think about what are the things that would set me up to have that kind of connection. Maybe it's you go quarterly vacations with your family away from the noisy world of, chaos at home, right? Maybe it's related to how much time you spend undivided attention with them every single day. Maybe it's something related to how you connect with them. Maybe you connect with them one-on-one and sometimes family. I mean, for example, one of my goals is always to create more deeper connections and memories with Teresa and Alyssa. And so what I do is I think about what are the types of things that I would be doing that would cause me to do that, because that's what I want to measure. And for me, it's 15 minutes of undivided attention towards one person that day, so individual time, minimum 15 minutes. And then throughout the week, one family activity where we're doing something without electronics, and then quarterly vacations where we get to go somewhere and it's tied to a goal related to my business. Meaning, if we hit a certain number of things, then we're going to go to Yosemite. and we're going to Yosemite next week. And next week we get to unplug. We get to be in Yosemite. I don't know if it's going to snow. I don't know how to drive in snow. We'll have to figure out. Maybe we'll have to call Kurt or Aaron or some East Coasters to figure out that because we're in California. But like, it's when we are able to do that. Now my kids know that we were able to make an impact in people's lives. And because of that, now we're going to be able to go to Yosemite, and it brings them into this collective piece of like, oh man, mom and dad are doing some important stuff, but also like we get to reap the benefits of it and go to like Yosemite. And now we have like 4 or 5 different hikes in 20-degree weather that we're going to be doing. And we have all of this family connection time. So that is how I tie my personal and my business goal together. Sometimes we use the past against us when actually it could be our greatest form of strength, okay? Because here's the thing, as you're growing, as you're doing things, last year you learned some skills, you developed some processes, you figured some stuff out. None of us have figured it all out, but because of last year and all the years before that, you've learned, you've developed. I know you, Shelly, you're an incredible coach. You understand some of the pieces that most humans don't understand. And we continually to develop and become an entirely different person. And what happens is we have all of those skills, but we forget about them. Now we use them against us. And we say, but I haven't done this. Like last year, all I did was this and this and this. And it's like, yes, but if you think about the year before that and the year before that and what you learned and what you grew and the type of person you became, once that one thing happens, for us, I told you it was life coaching, everything else now gets to be used. I kind of want to hit on this for a second, guys, because so many times I get on a coaching session with someone and they're struggling with their business, they're struggling with their family, and they have like these thoughts of like, man, who am I to do this? Who am I to help other people? Who am I to X, Y, and Z? And I pause them for a second and I go, okay, who are you to do that? What are some things you've been through? What are some things you've learned? What are some things you struggled with? If you were sitting down with a 20-year-old, 25-year-old version of yourself, would you have some advice to give yourself to be able to help navigate a whole bunch of stuff? And the person's like, oh, I did this and this and this, and I'd have this, and I'd give this person. I'm like, so why are we focused on what is you don't have when you have all of these beautiful things that you do have? It was the same with me. When I left my police career, like I could still get back into that, like, oh my God, like who am I? Like I'm just a police officer. Like, but do you know how many skills I learned as a police officer that like I wouldn't have right now if I didn't have, like had gone through that struggle, saw the things that probably most humans shouldn't have seen? Like it's helped me connect with people on an entirely different level. I'll have a coaching session with somebody about something that most of you guys would not want to talk about. I'm willing to talk about it because I know how to talk about it because of the experiences that I've had. But when I discredit that, when I forget that like I'm bringing my entire past into right now, this session, I like to think about this when I'm coaching. All of those 43 programs, all of those things that I've learned, how to get on stage, how to do a podcast, how to do a YouTube, how to do Facebook ads. I mean, I could go on for 43 hours here. All of these things, I bring it to you and you get to have access to them right here on the call. You don't have to go through them. You don't have to go through pain or struggle or anything that I did. I could be like, oh, you know what? This is what I learned over there. This is, and it was probably like a 6-month course, but I'll give you what you need right here in this very session. And we forget about that when we are impacting people's lives, that yes, we have a skill or an item or something we're selling, but also we have all of the other experiences that we've had in the past. And so instead of using that against us, why wouldn't we use that for us? Now, I want you to take a check on this, guys, because I want you to check your energy now when I just described that. Now, what I did, and I'm going to tell you what I did, is I took a head voice and I flipped it to a heart. I shared a little bit of logic in there, and then I got you to see that what if there's a different way to believe about your past? What if there's a different relationship you could have with your past? And I want you to feel the energy that you feel when I did that. And I also want you to think, what actions are you going to take when you're fueled by that story? That's the power of true coaching. That's the power of being able to get in there and seeing how you're using something as your kryptonite when it's your freaking superpower. And I'm going to point it out and you're going to be like, you're right, it is. And let's go out and crush it. And it's this rewiring, because the next time it happens, next time goals come up, Shelly, you're going to go through the same path. You're going to be like, wait, we talked about this. My past is for me. It's not against me. And this is how you reprogram your mind. And this is how your goals happen on autopilot. They're in alignment with your core values. They're not pulling you out of your values, right? You've identified what you want. It's near and deep. And it's like, I am passionate about this. More, the uncomfortableness that I'm in right now is way worse than the uncomfortableness of getting on social media or selling this thing or doing this. I'm not willing to feel this way again. And the third piece is when those head voices come up, you find a way of getting in, figuring out what is actually holding you back, reframing it, and then just getting ready for the next one because it's going to come back. And your head voice is going to be like, but don't you remember? Like, you did this. Come on, Shelly.
It's like having that little person.
It is. It's this Jekyll and Hyde. And that's why we like to be on this side of your shoulder so that you have somebody who's empowering you to go out and to crush it because you have so much potential. It's just we hold ourselves back. And this is that third piece, is really understanding how this subconscious mind is working and how we can reframe it. Like when you guys think of a salesperson, what comes up for you? Close your eyes. Keep them probably. What do you think? Do you think Mark and Teresa? Because we're literally selling you on something right now. We're selling you on some new beliefs, a new system, a new thing related to your core values, a new way to set goals. We just sold our kids on coming down and eat food so they can go back upstairs and so they don't make noise. We sold our dog on being quiet because we kind of like put this little like bone in there with him so that he could eat it. And that's literally what we're doing. You're selling every single day. That's just what you're doing. We're all doing it. We're selling people to marry us. We're selling people, of course, to like buy our program or products. But in reality, what we're doing is we're selling them on a dream that they could have something different. And if they want that thing and we know how to get it, why wouldn't we want to sell them on that dream so that they can get it and actually change their life? Did you know that you've been sold to and it's changed your life forever? Think on that for a second. Just think about that. And it's because we have this preconceived subconscious thought about selling. And when we realize, oh, seriously, literally selling changes people's lives, we can have a different relationship, not only with that word, but realize that that's what we do. I like to sell hope around here. It's for sale. I'm going to do whatever I can to sell it to you because I 100% believe it's true. I'm not just saying it just because I feel like I want to make you guys feel good. I say it because I truly believe it, right? And when I say it and when I do that, I'm selling you on that because I need you to be sold on that. Because if you're not sold on that, you won't think you're good enough. You won't think it's possible. You'll think your past is going to be used against you and you're not like everyone else. Oh, did you know not being like everyone else is a superpower?
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Like, I don't want you to be like everyone else. Can you imagine? Like my mentor Josh, if I was just trying to be another Josh, like I would be watering down who I am. I love that guy, but his values aren't the same exact as mine. He's not the same exact me. Yeah, I would probably have a little bit more energy than I have, which is pretty crazy, right? But I don't want to be Josh. Like I want to be Mark, like 3.0, 4.0, 5.0, right? And so I'm glad that we're not all the same because if everybody was the same, it would already be taken, right? And so like even that is like a total reframing of like, no wonder, like I don't want to be like anyone else. This is a really great thing that I'm not like everyone else. This is my superpower. And then you think of the energy that you take into that, right? So even just hitting and seeing it from that different angle can totally help you reframe it. Now, like I said, there's usually multiple other thoughts that will come with this now. There's multiple ones that are like the backup thoughts, the backup of the backups. And that's really why we totally believe in every entrepreneur, every parent, every athlete needs to have a coach. They need to have somebody who's a few steps ahead of them, who can give them advice, give them direction, and then also put them in an environment of accountability to get them to continue to show up and to take those actions. Can you just like think on this for a second? We have all of these beautiful people on these squares. How connected do you feel knowing what everybody's goals are, knowing what the voices are that are holding them back, hearing some of the things that Teresa and I are saying? This is what happens when you're in this level of environment. What happens when you get out of this environment is you get tugged in everybody else's direction. You don't stay true to your core values. You get used shame, guilt, humiliation, all these things to try and get you to act. And that is absolutely something we refuse to do. And it's also something that I hope you look for in some type of community or some type of team. Now, I do want to share, before we get to how you could work with us if that's something you want to, I do want to share like a speed hack with you guys. Because these first three, when we talked about like identifying your core values, figuring out what you really want, right? Of course, there's going to be some reverse engineering on what are the daily actions for you to take, right? We didn't have time to go through that. And number three is like, what are the voices and how do you reframe them and reprogram them? Is I found that there is this really incredible speed hack that helps me when it comes to growing and learning in an area of my life that I want to be able to excel in. I used it as a parent. I used it as a business owner for sure. I used it as a police officer. I used it when it comes to me losing weight. I use it when it comes to my relationship with Teresa. And it's one of those things where I want the results and I don't want to wait for a very long time to do that. I don't want to wait 5 years before I'm able to do that. I want to do that in the quickest time possible. And how we do that is we find the right mentors, we find the right coaches, we find the right people who've developed skills that we want to be able to develop. So one of the things that I do is whenever I want to learn something, right now it's YouTube. So I'm really heavy into YouTube. I'm really heavy into doing videos and trainings and stuff on YouTube because I feel like that is like where I'm in my lane. I love it. I enjoy it. People say that I'm good at it. I don't really believe it yet. I'm still trying to get better, but I want to learn as much as I possibly can about the platform. It's totally different than any other version of social media. Like you can't have DMs and stuff like that, but you have to make sure you keep people's attention, right? Now, when I'm going through that, I'm like, okay, what is a program that I can tap into that will help me speed up the process? I can probably watch YouTube videos. I can probably Google it. I could probably like listen to 42 million podcasts. But like, if I want to get there the quickest way possible, I'm like, who has done this before and how can I get their help? And so I joined this program. And when I was in the program, the first thing that I did is I made a post and I'm like, hey guys, does anybody on the coaching team offer one-on-one coaching? And I remember hearing, having like people like comment under that. They're like, you just paid for this. Why would you want to have one-on-one coaching? Like, why don't you just go through the program yourself first and then you can do that? And I'm like, I love it because I'm thinking of things differently. Like I like to zig when everybody else is zagging. And because I know that if I connect with the actual person who put that thing together, if I connect with a person who has a lot more skill, has a lot more, like can personalize it for me and my specific strengths, weaknesses, goals, I'm going to get there way faster than everyone else. Caveat, I didn't just think about this. Like I actually got monetized on YouTube. And the people who signed up for the program with me have not. Like, I don't know of anybody else who's gotten monetized from that program as quickly as I did because I was willing to reach out, to have conversations, to have a mentor, to even like sign up this year to actually have somebody look at our channel again and really dive into it and figure out what I could do better and what I could do. And so for me, it's like, I want the speed boost. Yes, I like programs, but I also like to actually connect with somebody who is a few steps ahead of me because it's different than being in a group for accountability. I love that. It'll get me to show up. It'll get me to like plug in. But like when I have questions, when I need personal help, when I'm struggling with something that he's telling me on the screen, and now like I'm going to have to like, find the answers somewhere, like I want to go to the source. So one of the ways that I always do that is to find out like, how can I find, whether it's a mentor, a coach, a person, somebody who's a few steps ahead of me, who maybe has gone through all the struggles that I'm going to go through, who can help guide me along that path. What do you think about that?
Excellent.
I got approval from Teresa. So here's the thing. We talked about these 4 pieces, all right? And I want you to think about this, and I want you to answer it in the chat here. And that is like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you, knowing all of these different forces that we talked about right now? How confident are you that you are going to wake up a year from now and be able to achieve this on your own? So I want to share something with you guys. Now, I want you to really think about your number here today, because you could put in a real like number in terms of how you feel. If you didn't have any more support, you just figured it out on your own, you took today's training and you went out and you crushed it. And we could put a number in here also because it's like, well, I don't want other people to think that I can't do this, right? But ultimately, whatever your number is in your subconscious mind, not your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, you will manifest every single time. Meaning if you're like, well, I'm kind of like a 5, you now have told me subconsciously that you believe this is not possible for you, that there's something that's going to come up. There's something on the outside, something on the inside, something that's going to just show up, and it's going to be, well, I guess this wasn't meant to be.
It's a sign.
It's a sign.
I used to always say that. Oh, it's a sign.
This is a sign that I shouldn't do this. And I'm like, actually, this is a sign of something you should learn. This thing is trying to teach you something, right? And the reason why I like to bring up this like 1 to 10 questions is because like we like to think in terms of like when we're really excited and happy, like it's going to be a breeze. I'm just going to think about this video for the rest of the time. And what I have found is like, if this is not something that's repeated This is not something that you tap into. This is not something that over and over and over again you revisit until it becomes a part of your subconscious mind. It will leave your conscious mind. I have a question. How many times have you felt like you're going to crush your goal next year, and 3 weeks later, it's like you're not taking those same actions. You're not feeling that same way. You're feeling like, this is going to just be the same that it's always been. That's the number that I want you to attach to. Because if that number is an 8 or 9 or 10, you do not need us. You don't. And your number is a 1 or 2 or 3, you also don't need us. You don't need us at all. We're just here to speed up this process for you. And that's why we want to talk about how we can actually work and be a part of your team. If you're like, I cannot let this goal slip away. What's going to happen if you try to do this on your own, and a year from now, you wake up and you haven't put in that work, and you haven't done the difficult things. You haven't been put in that environment. Because I know for me personally, that happened for many, many years, is I didn't do that. I didn't invest my time, but more my money, but also more importantly, my time, right? And when you get to that point where you're like, a year from now, I'm going to be in the same place, but also I'm going to use the fact that a year from now I'm in that same place to make it mean that I can't go anywhere else. And that is something that I refuse to do. That's something that I refuse to allow you to do. And that's why we're here. It's because we want to do what we can on our part to help. So I'm curious, what was the most impactful part for you? Hopefully you had an opportunity to dream a little bit, to think about what life would look like when you're able to achieve those goals, and think about how to pre-program them into your subconscious mind so they happen on autopilot. Now, here's the thing. You might get to this point and be like, I would really love some help in order to achieve my specific goals. Getting this level of coaching every other week would be something that is extremely impactful for me. And if that's the case, if you feel like this would be something that would be helpful for you, we want to leave you a link in the show notes. At the end of this workshop, we talked about a way to work with us a little bit closer for 2024 so we can help you achieve your goals too. If you'd like to have Teresa and I join your team, fill out that application and we'll talk to you real soon. Lastly, I want to say I appreciate you for what you do out there every single day. We need more business leaders, more family-oriented people like you to be leading from the front, to show people that it's possible. Thank you for doing that. We appreciate you for that. And above all, keep leading from the front.